Well, hello there. My name is Alison Woodall and I'm a relocation specialist. That means I get to help you with the financial, logistical and emotional issues that make moving to a new state so stressful. And today I am going to share with you a live training that I did in one of the Facebook groups that I'm the admin for. And it's going to be all about how to create your budget when you move to a new state. So please enjoy and I will see you at the end. So what I want to do, because we have a lot to get through today, I am going to get started because what we are dealing with today is usually your biggest obstacle to moving, and that is the cost. Moving is expensive no matter where you move to or where you're moving from, but moving from California is especially expensive. This is simply because of supply and demand. There is a huge demand from people leaving California, so moving businesses can charge more. And then because there are very few people moving to California, businesses like Pods or U-Haul or Penske have so little inventory returning that they can charge more for the units or trucks that they do have. And also because of the mass exodus of Californians with very high equity in their homes who can make cash offers, it drives up the cost of housing in certain areas of the USA where Californians tend to move to. So while this may all sound like doom and gloom, I believe that you can do anything that you set your mind to. The fact that you are here tonight and listening to this live shows me that you have the determination to leave California and build an amazing life for yourself and your family in another state. But creating that amazing life starts with a plan and a detailed budget. Probably when you think about your moving costs, you've thought about the cost of buying or renting a home and shipping all the things that you own to that new state. Well, there are so many other things that you need to budget for, because one of the biggest causes of stress when you move is unexpected costs. I don't know about you, but I would much rather know upfront exactly how much something is going to cost me, even if it's more than I was expecting, because that way I can budget and I can plan for it instead of dealing with cost after cost that I hadn't anticipated. So when I coach people, or when you download my Make the Move planner, I will go into great detail to ensure that you have accounted for every cost that you can think of that's associated with your move. But today we're going to walk through a much more simplified version of the budgeting process, because I don't want you to be here all evening or to feel like you're in a math class. And also, this is my second live tonight and I think I'm starting to get sick, and so my head hurts and my throat hurts, so I'm going to try not to have a coughing fit. But if I seem a bit off, it's just that I'm being brave and trying to fight through this, because I know that you want to get as much information about building a budget as possible. So obviously I know that everybody has different needs, different budgets and different expenses. But no matter who you are or how much money you have, there are going to be 6 steps to creating your budget. The first step is dealing with your credit score. The second step is listing your income. The third step is listing all of your expenses. The fourth step is listing your assets. And the fifth step is identifying all of your moving costs. And then the sixth step, which is the math part, is finalizing your budget. If you are in a great position financially and you're some kind of budgeting guru, you should be very, very proud of yourself. And probably everything that I'm going to talk about this evening is going to be so easy for you to apply, and it may even seem quite simplistic. However, I know that for so many people, especially those leaving California, budgeting for a move requires hardship and sacrifice, because so many people are forced to live paycheck to paycheck. So when I help people create a budget, I always take it to the simplest and easiest level. So having said that, let's start with step 1, and that is dealing with your credit score. Whether you buy or rent, you are going to have to get your credit in order. If you want to buy, you will also need to make sure that your debt to income ratio is around about 35%. I am not a financial manager, so the best place to start is to talk to a mortgage broker or a financial professional who can help you improve your credit score or lower your debt to income ratio. I have linked down below this video to our YouTube channel to a video I did with mortgage loan advisor Pamela Witt that is going to be able to help you with the mortgage approval process. And we also have a list of excellent mortgage loan advisors saved in that file section that I told you about earlier on the group homepage, and they will help you in any way that they can. So once you have got your credit in order, step 2 is figuring out your income. When you download my Make the Move planner, it includes a detailed Excel budgeting spreadsheet with all your income, your expenses, and your asset categories listed. This makes it so easy to calculate your budget by adding your numbers for every category as I talk through each of the different categories in the next 30 minutes. It even figures out your cost of living in different states, and you can download Make the Move by going to AlisonWoodall.com. That's Alison with one L, AlisonWoodall.com. Hit the red button, and there's also a link to Make the Move in the notes below this video. If you are a financial whiz, you may already have all of this information in some kind of budgeting app, but I like to keep things simple. So a pad of paper or a very simple Excel spreadsheet will be okay too. So this is where you get to see just how bad my writing is. I have many skills, but neat writing is not one of them. But I love visuals, and this to me is the easiest way for you to visualize all the different things that you have to plan for when you are creating your budget. So now that you've dealt with your credit score, step 2, you are going to calculate how much money you can earn before you move. To do this is very simple. You just need to list your income each month and then multiply it by the number of months until you leave. Even if you don't have a specific moving date yet, you must have a date in mind for budgeting purposes. The closer the date, the better, because it's really going to focus you on what you need to do to make your move happen. If plans change or if you need to save more money, you can always extend your moving date. So in this example, I have said, let's move on July 15th, 2022, and that gives us 4 months until we leave. So I always tell people it is much easier to earn more income than it is to cut costs, especially if your move date is soon. While it may be completely exhausting and draining and stressful to work more during that crazy stress of moving, every business right now is desperate for employees, so finding extra work is relatively easy. You may though have to take a job that is way below your skill set, but you have to think about the short-term pain of increasing your income for the long-term gain of being able to leave California and live that amazing life. I coached a couple recently who were so dead set on their dream home in their new state that they worked Uber and DoorDash every single evening and every single weekend for 6 months so that they could afford the deposit on their dream house. And for them, all of that short-term sacrifice was well worth it for the long-term gain. So to figure out what your monthly income will be, you need to just decide what your monthly income is and then multiply it by the number of months until you leave, and then add in any extra income that you can earn. And that will give you your total income before you leave. So that's pretty straightforward, isn't it? So then step 3 is you need to list all of your monthly expenses. This is things like household bills, insurance, memberships, car payments, credit card payments, groceries, clothes, and everything that you buy each month. You can do this, you can download all of this information or log all of this information on your spreadsheet or on a pad of paper. When you download my Make the Move planner, I've actually included a space in the budgeting spreadsheet to log the company name, the phone number, the account number, the logins, and the passwords as you list all of your expenses. That way you have everything all saved in one place, which makes it so much easier to cancel accounts, change addresses, and contact businesses in an emergency. But I will always say, if you're doing it in Excel, make sure you password your Excel spreadsheet and make a copy of it. The last thing you want to do is to have all of your login and password information get into the wrong hands. And my other suggestion is that once you've completed logging all your account information, that you email a copy to yourself. That way in an emergency, you can always pull up all your contact information for those businesses on your phone. So what you need to do then, once you've listed all of your monthly expenses, you need to multiply them by the number of months until you leave, and that will give you your total expenses. But There's one kind of expense that we also need to account for, and that is big or seasonal expenses. This is things like birthdays, vacations, coming up to tax season. So any tax bills, anything like that that you are going to have to pay for before your move date. Okay. So now, to find your available income for your move, you simply subtract all of your expenses before you leave from all of your income that you can earn before you leave. And that here gives you your available moving budget. Okay. So that should make sense. Again, you can see visually, it's just always much easier. Now, what do you do if the gap between your income and your expenses is very, very small, or it might even be negative? Don't worry yet, we have a few more steps to go. Because step 4 is to list all of your assets. The first thing that you're going to list is all of your financial assets. This is things like savings, retirement accounts, stocks, or anything else that you could potentially liquidate to pay for your move. Always list the value of the asset after you've paid fees or taxes to liquidate it. And again, in my Make the Move planner, there is a space to list the company name and all of your account details when you list those financial assets, so that you have everything all saved in one place. But as long as you have a record of it somewhere, you'll be okay. So once you've logged all of these financial assets here, you are then going to log your physical assets over here. If you own your home, obviously that is going to be your biggest physical asset. When you work with a realtor, they will give you what's known as a seller's net sheet that's going to tell you exactly how much you can expect to make on the sale of your home after fees and taxes and loan payoffs. You can Google examples of a seller's net sheet to give you a rough idea of the profit that you'll make on your home if you're not ready to engage with a realtor when you're still outlining your budget, or you can use the one that I provide in Make the Move in my planner. So if you own your own home and you are selling it, you want to add just the profit that you expect to make to your worksheet as a physical asset. Okay. And then next, what you also need to do is list the value of any vehicles or jewelry or any expensive items that you could possibly sell if you needed to. And you're going to list them in this area as well. Something I do when I'm coaching people or when they go through my Make the Move planner, I suggest that they walk around their home with a camera or their phone, and then take pictures of anything that is worth a significant amount of money. That way, if you choose to sell it, you already have a photograph ready for the listing. Or if you decide to ship it and it gets damaged, then you have photos for your insurance claim. So once you've listed everything that you could possibly sell that's your physical assets, you need to add it to your to the value of your financial assets that you can liquidate. And this is going to give you the total value of your assets, which will again allow you to decide if you're going to sell any items or liquidate them to pay for your move. But it's kind of hard to know if you need more money to pay for your move other than what you've got here, if you don't know exactly how much your moving costs will be. So step 5 is to list all of your moving costs, which I've got over here. Most people, when they move, make the mistake of only budgeting for the cost of buying a home and booking a moving company or a U-Haul. But that is a mistake. In my Make the Move planner, I have listed all of the categories that you need to budget for and all of those subcategories and line items. But for right now, we're just going to keep it high level. As your home is going to be your biggest asset, we need to start there. And like I say, I'm kind of lumping all of these things, all these subcategories into one. So when I talk about your home, the first thing you need to look at is, do you need to fix your home up to get the highest sales price? Right now, with the market the way it is, you may not need to do anything, but maybe if you put a little more money into your house, you'll get a much better price for it. And the more money that you can get for your home here, the more money you're going to have to start your new life in your new state. So if you plan on making any upgrades or just painting or deep cleaning it, you need to budget for those costs here. You will also need to pay realtor fees for photographs and all of the fees that come with selling your home. Once you talk with a realtor, they can give you an exact cost, but for right now, just put like a high estimate of how much it's going to cost you to sell your home in realtor's fees. If you don't have a home to sell, if you are renting, you also in this category here need to list all of those costs that you need to be able to fix up the house that you've been renting so that you can get your deposit back. That's things like professional carpet cleaning, professional cleaner or yard work, anything that you need to do to be able to keep your deposit. You want to keep as much money as possible in your available income to pay for your moving costs. Also, a word of warning, if you are breaking your lease, it is an incredibly significant cost, which we found out when we decided to leave California with 8 days notice. It cost us almost as much to break our lease as it did to move all of our stuff back to Georgia. It was just a crazy cost. So try very hard not to break your lease if you possibly can. So once you've dealt with your current home and everything that you need to do with that, you need to think about where are you going to move to. If you're buying, how much will you need for a deposit and all of those closing costs? Again, the realtor will be able to give you a good estimate of what you need to budget for. If you are renting, there are going to be approval fees and deposits and maybe the first month's rent or any pet fees up front. You are also going to, in this category here, need to budget for the cost of visiting and checking out the areas that you want to move to if you are going to visit before you buy. If you can't afford to visit before you buy or you don't have time, in my Make the Move planner, I have a whole section on how to deal with finding somewhere to live if you can't actually go and visit. So once you've dealt with your home here, you need to budget for dealing with all of your stuff. So I'm just going to call it stuff, but again, it's a very big category. When you get to that final stage and you're packing up, you may think I'm crazy, but I suggest one of your costs is budgeting for a dumpster. Every time we have moved, even when it felt like we had nothing and we donated and we'd sold as much as possible, it always amazes me how much stuff we had to throw out. And the longer you've lived in your home, the more stuff you have to get rid of. But, so that's just my, one of my suggestions that you may or may not take me up on. And then you also need to budget for the cost of packing supplies and insurance for your move, and then the actual cost of moving all of your stuff. Because you're going to need to decide, are you going to use a moving company or are you going to do it yourself? If you have specialist items to ship or vehicles or animals, then you're going to have more costs here that you need to budget for moving your stuff. If you are looking for a list of approved moving companies, don't forget to check out the file section on the homepage where we have a list of amazing moving companies. If there's not someone who services your area, reach out to someone on the moving list who is close by, and they will be able to recommend someone really, really good. And whatever you do when you are budgeting to move your stuff, do not use a broker. If it seems too cheap and too good, it probably is. I'm going to go into much more detail about moving companies tomorrow when we talk about planning for your logistics, and I have a whole section in my Make the Move planner too, but I have linked to 2 videos that I did on the YouTube channel with 2 people who own moving companies, so definitely check out those if you want more information. My other advice when it comes to moving your stuff is you have way more stuff than you realize. So always budget for a bigger rental truck or for more pod type units than you think you're going to need. It is so much better to budget for a little more space than to panic and have to get rid of stuff that you love when you realize that it won't all fit. Obviously, if you use a moving company, you need to make sure that they come out and give you a binding quote, or at least do a video call. If you do not sign a binding quote, then there's always a chance that that quote could change. Signing a binding quote means that your quote will not change. My other advice is book as soon as possible, as several months out, because it's relatively easy to reschedule a moving truck, but it's almost impossible to book at the last minute. And also, if you're on a tight budget, you need to move off season because it's going to be much cheaper, and always try to move during the week rather than a weekend. Again, it's going to be significantly cheaper. So that is how to budget for moving all of your stuff. But there's another category that people don't think about, and that is the cost of health insurance. If you are lucky enough to be transferring with a job and maintaining health coverage, that's great. Just make sure that there is no break in coverage. If you are transferring for a job that's going to provide health insurance, you need to maintain coverage, or you need to get supplementary health insurance until your new insurance kicks in. And the same goes for if you are just moving and you're going to get a job when you get to your new state. You must maintain health insurance coverage, because with the stress and exhaustion of moving, someone is bound to get sick. When we left Florida to move to California, my husband got kidney stones and was in hospital for 2 days, and then we had to stop off in 2 different hospitals en route. And then when we left California in October, I got sick and I had to get an emergency prescription. So never go without health insurance. If you need guidance, again, below this video, I've linked to 2 videos I did on the YouTube channel with Garrett Montague and Bonnie Dobbs. And they have great information about health insurance and Medicare coverage. So check out those videos if you need more information. So once you have budgeted for selling your home, moving all your stuff, and health insurance, you need to budget for the cost of getting to your new state. So I'm just going to call this travel. And this is one of my favorite categories. There's the boring stuff that goes along with getting to your new state, which is things like if you're driving, servicing your vehicle, paying for new tires, paying for gas if you're driving, or flights or rental cars if you fly. Then there's hotels and maybe pet fees, food and meals out. But my favorite is fun activities and exploring en route. You can make travel to your new state as cheap or as expensive as you like. And for me, that journey to your new state is the start of your new life. So you need to celebrate. If you are changing jobs, try to push out your start date for as long as possible so that you can have an amazing vacation to celebrate after all the stress of making your move happen. When we moved one time, my husband took a month off and we went to South Africa, which is where my mom was born. And then when we moved from Florida to California, we took a 6-week road trip through the southern states and Colorado. And then when we came back from California to Georgia in October, we took a 2-week road trip all the way through the northern states and the Midwest. And it was just amazing. So anytime we move, we budget for my husband to be able to take 4 to 8 weeks off work between jobs. And we make sure we have the budget to plan a big trip. If you hate the idea of a road trip, then you could plan time at a resort or anything that sounds fun to you. And it doesn't have to be expensive. But I can promise you, after the stress and exhaustion of packing up and dealing with everything, you will need a vacation to just relax and kind of decompress a little bit before you begin the process of settling into your new home and your new life. So now you've budgeted for your home, your stuff, health insurance, and also traveling to your new state. But the costs you need to budget for are not over yet, because once you get to your new home, you're going to have expenses too. If you can't move straight into your new home, you need to budget for accommodation, maybe pet fees, food, and meals out. What if you need to remodel your new home? Have you budgeted for paint and floors, maybe new kitchens, new bathrooms, new furniture, landscaping? All of those expenses add up very quickly. And even if you are moving on a very, very tight budget and you're determined to spend as little as possible, there are still going to be setup costs for your new home. If you've ever restocked a pantry or a freezer or bought new cleaning supplies, the cost adds up so quickly, and things like light bulbs and shower curtains and bath mats and trash cans and storage boxes all adds up very quickly. The reason I know is when we moved back from California to Georgia, we moved back into a house that we lived in for 15 years. We'd just been away for 4 years. So I thought I had everything that I needed, but it still cost us nearly $1,000 to get this house set up. So I like to call this other category here is setup costs. If you have children, the cost of getting them started in a new school can be unexpectedly high. Immunizations, physicals, maybe school uniforms if they have to wear one, sports equipment, musical instruments, bus fees, lunch costs, all need to be budgeted for. And then, of course, there are the costs associated with your vehicles, tags, titles, new licenses, and of course, just life expenses, things like enrollment fees for HOAs, gyms and clubs, and all the associations that you're going to want to join because you get to meet new people. If you don't plan for these expenses, your money when you get to your new state is going to disappear so quickly, because these kind of setup costs are going to occur whether you plan for them or not. And before you know it, you're going to feel like life in your new state is way more expensive than you thought it would be. But really, it's just that you didn't budget for all those unavoidable expenses that come with moving to a new state. And then there's one more thing that I tell the people that I coach, or when you go through my Make the Planner, that I make you budget for, and that is your fun budget. Because you are moving to your new state because of all the things that it offers you, the weather, the landscape, and a different way of life. Well, unfortunately, it takes money to be able to enjoy your new life, eating out, exploring the area, entertaining new friends and neighbors, setting up play dates or teen activities for your kids and their new friends. But when you budget for those expenses up front and in advance, the moment you get to your new home, you can get out and enjoy your new life straight away, instead of being stuck in your new home wondering where all of your money went. And then the final cost that we need to budget for is what I call your unique needs. Those are those things that maybe you haven't, that are unique to you or special to you. If you are moving with family members who maybe have health needs that make moving or traveling more costly, you need to budget for that. If you have animals, especially large animals, you're going to have to account for their transportation needs and feed and accommodation. So make sure you account for anything that is unique to your needs. So by now, you have a big, long list of expenses. If you download my Make the Move Planner, I have all of the subcategories that go into these big categories listed out for you, and all you have to do is add your own cost, and your budget will automatically calculate for you. Even if this list looks really, really long, do not get overwhelmed, because actually the more costs that you can budget for up front, the more that you can relax. The things that you budget for shouldn't stress you out, because you can anticipate and plan for them. It's those unexpected costs that are going to cause you the most stress. And after going through this exercise, you'll have accounted for almost everything that you can think of. So now we get to the math part of this. So how do you finalize your budget, which is step 6? In step 2, you calculated your total available income by multiplying the income that you can earn every month and multiplying it by the number of months until you leave, and then you added in any extra income that you could earn before you left. The next step was to calculate all your expenses before you move. Again, taking your monthly expenses, multiplying it by the number of months until you move, adding in any seasonal expenses. And when you subtract your expenses from your income, it gives you your available moving budget. And then in step 5, you have just listed out all of your moving costs. In a perfect world, this available income here would perfectly match or be way more than your moving costs. But we live in a real world. If you have a home to sell, then you can add the proceeds from the sale of your home to your available income, and it should more than cover your moving costs. But what do you do if you can't cover those moving costs? If maybe you don't have a home to sell, or your financial assets, you don't have enough financial assets. What you need to do is you need to, first of all, look at the financial assets and the physical assets that you have. Is there any way you can liquidate financial assets or sell physical assets? If you have very few assets and a very small income, this is your chance to really commit to your move. I know that you are a problem solver and you can figure it out. Like I said earlier, the easiest way to solve this problem is to earn more income. Can you get a second job? Or maybe you could push out your moving date so that you can earn more available income and it gives you more time to save. The second thing is, can you look at these expenses and really budget and try and lower your expenses so that you have more available income? I know how incredibly difficult this is, because if you're saving to leave California, you've probably been, cutting your costs and living as simply and as cheaply as possible, which is why I always say short-term pain for long-term gain. Trying to earn more income is much easier. The third thing to do is to review all of those assets, particularly your physical assets, because the more things that you can sell, the more money it's going to generate and the less you're going to have to pay to ship. Pre-COVID, I would have told you to sell everything. And if you look in the group, you will see so many people saying, sell, sell, sell. That is no longer my advice. When we left Florida and moved to California, we had one pod and we had no big furniture. We had one dresser and just the bare minimum. When we got to California, we had the budget. We were going to buy everything new. Well, the problem with buying everything new is it was ridiculously expensive, and we sat on patio furniture for I think 6 or 8 weeks waiting for our dining table and our couch to arrive. And because we'd only lived in California for like 18 months, all of our stuff was new. And we knew that the waiting times were just as long when we went back to Georgia. So for us, when we looked at the cost of shipping our stuff versus buying new, it was actually cheaper for us to rent a second pod and move all of our furniture, literally everything that we owned, back to Georgia. So you need to look very carefully at your physical assets versus the cost of shipping them, and just decide what is best for you. And again, if you are prepared to go to Goodwill and just, buy back furniture as cheaply as possible, then getting rid of everything is probably the most cost-effective thing for you to do. I quite like nice stuff, and I love the stuff that I had, so it made no sense for me to sell nice furniture to wait a long time or to replace it at the other end. It was much cheaper for me to rent a pod. So you just have to look at your own situation. So once you've got rid of as many physical assets as possible to create additional income and minimize your moving costs, the fourth thing that you need to do when you are trying to close the gap between your available income and your moving costs is to review all of your moving costs again and decide where you can economize, where you can cut corners. But I never, ever recommend that you skimp on any kind of health insurance or insurance to do with moving your stuff, or that you economize on the cost of moving your stuff. You really do get what you pay for when it comes to cheap moving and cheap insurance companies. So cut your costs somewhere else. So that is it. That is how to budget for your move. When you stay focused on how amazing your life is going to be in your new state, you can deal with that short-term pain of budgeting for your move, knowing that you are going to have the long-term gain of living an amazing life in a state that you love. If you're confident that you have everything figured out for your move and you don't need any additional guidance, then good luck. I know that you will work hard and plan and budget to make your move happen, and I am here if you need me. But the easiest and most efficient way to budget for your move is to go to my website, AlisonWoodall.com, and download my Make the Move Planner by clicking on the red button. If you found what I just shared valuable, then you are going to love my planner. As well as helping you to budget, I'll also show you how to get very, very clear on exactly what you want from life in your new state, so that you can create a short list of towns that are going to be the perfect place for you to move to. And I'll also help you plan for all of these different logistical needs too, like your home, finding the right moving company, getting a job, dealing with health insurance, and dealing with kids or relatives or animals that are traveling with you. So don't stress about budgeting anymore, or any of the issues that you're dealing with right now. Go to AlisonWoodall.com and click on the red button to download my planner, and through a series of short videos and detailed check sheets, I will be with you every step of the way as you plan your journey to a new state. And that is it. So here I am back at the end of that budgeting video. I hope that you found that training so incredibly useful. And if you liked what I taught you, if you found value in what I went through and how I showed you how to budget, and you want to budget in the easiest possible way, then go to AlisonWoodall.com and hit the red button and download my Make the Move planner. I promise you, you will not regret it. Have an amazing day.